Everybody, oh, I should turn off the music in the background. We got some rainforest sounds in the background. Okay, we're here on the Behavior Code podcast with Bryan Casella here at Casa de Casella. And this is a Titan's house. This is the house of a real live living Spartan and businessman extraordinaire, also a car enthusiast, and has a big social media following. And a really great guy. I'm here with Bryan Casella. My name is Yogi Chris, PhD. I'm founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, and this podcast is sponsored by Ninth Limb Yoga. But if you're catching us on iTunes or the Behavior Code YouTube channel, leave a comment, follow us, and you can always come live to the lecture. So if you're on Instagram or if you're catching this live on YouTube or Facebook, there's a Zoom link. Come to the actual podcast, and the questions and comments get answered first here on the Zoom lecture. So first, Bryan. What does everybody need to, you've done, this is Behavior Code, so I'm interviewing people that have done Messengers, Tabiat, and most recently the Love Spell boot camps, and you just spoke at a Messengers meetup. It was kind of like a boot camp. These are all events from Arash Bazaar. So you've been on this podcast 2 or 3 times. What could you say that, would synthesize maybe some update that people need to know about, like where you're at now versus if you can remember a month or 2 ago when I last had you on?
Yeah. Well, all the things that people seek, we keep attaining. I say we, as in IMC and our crew, particularly the Messengers. Everything I'm wanting, I'm getting. Everything I've wanted to create, I'm creating. And I'm becoming more efficient. And one of the biggest things is there's more of a relaxation in everything, more than anything, right? I'm achieving more, I'm doing more without what the outside world coins as the grind and the hustle. I'm still working a lot and doing a lot, but it just seems to be flowing now and things are falling into place literally. And it's just happening, and I'm being presented opportunities, whereas before it seemed like I had to fight tooth and nail to create those moments, if that makes sense. So now it's almost like I've tapped into the wavelength of just abundance, success, prosperity, opulence and all those things versus having to literally fight my way into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What can you say about, because it sounds nice. I thought you were going to say that you had tapped into the way. I thought you were going to say the way, like Wu Wei or like, the whatever, Lao Tzu or whatever.
Yeah.
But you said the wave, and I resonate with you exactly. Like, it's overcoming some of the resistances in me that I have. You can almost, it's all the language of electricity, really, like the resistance or the resistor as the electricity is flowing and it like stops it. And the resistances in me. What can you tell the audience about, how would you break that down? Like, tapping into the wave of opulence and success, and on a basic introduction level, like in the last month, you've harmonized inside, you've opened up, you're tapping into the wave. What does that mean?
Yeah. So typically, if I'm going to break this down in a simple fashion for people, let's say you're brand new into any sort of game, we can call it. You want to be a traveling yogi like Chris, or become a yoga instructor. You want to be a businessman. You want to get into real estate. You have 2 worlds that we deal with. We have the mundane world, which is going to be all of the techniques and basic fundamental 1, 2, 3. How to throw a jab in boxing, how to throw the 1, 2, that foundational stuff. Then you have the inner world, which is what we focus on primarily in this program at IMC, and particularly us. So in the last month, I have tapped more into that in the sense of this. If you want to be successful in real estate, as an example, you're going to have a certain level of those techniques and then a certain level way of being on the inside that has to harmonize with that level of success. And where most people fuck up is they think, well, if I just, as an example, as a real estate agent, if I just learn the scripts and make phone calls, I'm going to be a gazillionaire. And that will work if all these other factors are in place. So we have to create the character from the inside out. What a lot of people do is they don't want to build the character from inside out and just want to throw on the costume of the character and then show up and think they're going to be deserving of success. Yeah. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's really great. And the recent trainings with the Arash Bazaar had a lot to do with like character and archetype and what we're holding inside as like a self-image or something like this that we're behaving from. The behavior code or code of behavior is really coming from is that like self-image. Right. And what has this done for you the last month or so of training, the last 2 events with Arash on archetype and self-image, the image of the warrior and the character that you're playing in the game and in business? Like what's different about you in the last month or so with the character?
you brought up a word, harmonized earlier, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm more clear with it. I'm less apologetic with it.
Yeah.
So I'm thrusting it more into the world.
Uh-huh.
And more so than ever now, when we look at the world that's in a state of uncertainty and chaos, we're more stable and centered than ever.
Yeah.
So that would be the main thing, is I'm more here, planted, knowing what I am, what I represent, and where I want to go. So I can move forward almost like a bullet train versus just being a regular train. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm more in tune with that. So we can say efficiency has increased, clarity has increased, and there's just, I'm more connected. That would be the word. I'm more connected now, more so than ever. And that's what's allowing that flow and that kind of just ease into this, where now, just like with boxing, right? I'm getting so much better now that when I fight, I'm a lot more relaxed. And that's been the product of a lot of training. However, when I get into the fight now, I'm much more efficient while using less energy. And the more I tap into that, just like with the business and everything we're doing here, the better results I'm going to get and the farther I'm going to go.
As you're talking, I'm thinking, I'm applying it to a relationship, and the idea of relax is so important. And I see where I'm using way more energy than needs to happen to get the communication across. It's as if I'm, like the popular, like I'm venting or something, or, somehow I'm using my need to get this communication out as like an excuse to express way more energy than needs to happen for it. And, I see that kind of like how you're saying, is I'm more efficient now and I know how to do it in a more efficient way, but I'm still holding on to the old way of doing it because that's maybe so familiar to me. And what would you say about the process of shedding the habitual self-esteem, or the self-esteem, self-image, in the embracing of the new and updated or sharpened versions of yourself? Like, is there any mentality around that, or do you just push through? Or what would you say about that?
A lot I can say about it in a simple way, because I always like to give people simple, applicable material. If you create, we can say, a list of the old you or your current self versus a list of your future self and the qualities that person has, and what makes up that character, you can very quickly start to see the differences. As an example, again, in my world of real estate, the rookie version of me, how they're going to respond to an aggressive phone call versus the version of me now are two completely different things.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to zero in on that, I can keep it top of mind to say, okay, the next time I receive a call from a customer, I'm going to do everything in my power to be as close as possible to this character and work towards that, versus falling into the old patterns. And that's how I can start systematically, piece by piece, building that character, because that becomes the focus instead of just the techniques, or, oh, I need to say a script, or, oh, I need to do this, or I need to wear a fancier suit. And now becomes this itemized list and process of, I need to do this, then this, then this, then this. And over time, because obviously that's taken me years, you slowly start building that character.
Right.
And that's what's allowing people now, us in particular, our crew, to keep getting success and avoiding what most people do, which is they get a little bit of success and then they seem to crash back down or go back down. It's almost like a roller coaster. I noticed with our crew, there's less of that effect or any at all. And I'm noticing that with me too, whereas other people around me are constantly going up and down. If I do have a blip, it's very minimal and then I shoot up again, right? So it creates more certainty, not only in our lives, but in our business and our lifestyle. But from the outside, in particular the women, they notice that. Because as they interact with me, there's less fluctuation. It's more, okay, this person is stable. And we know a woman is always looking for stability in a man, whether that's emotional, financial, and just overall. And I think that's extremely powerful in all realms.
Well, let me get a little, let me get some coaching right here, because, I don't always, I see myself as definitely like 10x, 100x more stable than the women that interact with me. But
Of course.
I still have moments. I have my man period or whatever that happens once every blue moon or something. And does that ever happen to you? And what do you do when maybe, what's the strategy? Is it just like, how do you communicate that? Let's say you're in a communication with someone, do you exit the communication? Like, it's not enough to just like, I take some space. Like, what do you do if it's some wobbliness inside when you're in that?
Me
the
personally,
code of behavior for BC.
Yeah, me personally, when that happens, because it doesn't happen to everybody, I see it as a growth opportunity. So if let's say I stumble or I do something incorrectly, I correct it on the spot. So let's say I miscommunicate something, I'll say, wait, no, if I have to, I'll apologize. I'll say, okay, this is what I really meant. Boom, and I fix it. If we're gonna zoom in on the communication, because one of the biggest things that I've seen is, from my personal experience in the past, when I don't handle it on the spot and I try to step away or do some other tactic other than what I just said, it's one of those things that like you carry it with you, right? And then it starts to weigh on you. And I think people, at least around me, lose respect for me, whether it's a business partner, a potential customer, or a woman. So I just correct it on the spot. And to me, that's a sign of somebody who is developed, somebody who, again, has abundance, someone who doesn't give a shit. And it's a quality that I think only the top people are gonna have. And I see it, and we've seen it in movies too, where someone fucks up and says, oh shit, I fucked up, and they fix it. Versus, oh, I'm gonna step away and hide and fix this. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I want that pressure. I want to be seen as, oh, he made a mistake, good. Because I'm gonna show you how quickly I bounce back and fix it. And I like that, and I wear that proudly. That's my personal process.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so transitioning a little bit, now we're moving into a period of love spell boot camps that are happening. And these love spell boot camps are with Arash Safar, the bizarre #1 pickup artist and seduction artist on the planet. And we're students of his, and we'll be at these boot camps and maybe even speaking at these boot camps. And they'll be taking place in Hollywood, California, and in San Jose, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and Nevada. And, these are going to be the next level. Where do you see the future of, okay, so he painted a picture for us that the Messengers is going to be this like big entertainment kind of transformative event that a message gets across and people are changed afterwards. Mm-hmm. Where do you see your role being in the Messengers coming up or in the Love Spell boot camps?
More so than anything, and I think this applies to all of us as well, with a proper representation of these said concepts, whether we represent pickup, whether we represent high-level communication, whether we represent high level of ethics, I believe all of us are the proper and new age character portrayal of those traits. And I think to me, that's one of the most important things. And one of my roles is to continue, especially with the audience that I've built, to be that major, we can say influencer of the group who can draw attention and can bring in a lot of people to funnel them into what we do. Because, I've created that platform, and I think it's a great chance for me more than everybody else because of what I built to really be that shining light and beacon and representation of this and pull that audience in, because that's what we need. We look at what's happening now with the coronavirus. I mean, what's going to happen in 6 months or a year with the next thing, or 2 years with the next thing. And the bigger this tribe is, and the more closely knit it is, and the more we shine and continue to exhibit these qualities, I believe that's what's going to create the change that we need, not only locally, but also, worldwide.
Wow. And that's really incredible. And I see that exact same thing. And it's almost, there's a hesitancy for me to admit sometimes that it's like an ethics thing, but it is I think there's a high level of ethics that naturally comes in when you understand the mechanics of communication that I talk about a lot. And so let's see, we'll wind it down. This could be a relatively short episode. We got a bunch of people here. Let me see if there's any comments. Okay, let's see. Victor, 100% I walk away from the interaction like shit. I should have said X or done X, and I carry that feeling and leave them with that interaction.
And that was in reference to the question you asked me, like if I make a mistake.
Oh,
my
yeah.
Processes, that's my guess, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I kind of just made that mistake, so I'm gonna go rectify it really soon. Okay, let's see any comments here. Don't see any comments there.
Yeah, man. And if I can add anything to what we're talking about,
sure.
Ethics is the most important thing, especially now. In this day and age where anybody in a sense can build an audience and become an influencer. They have a tremendous responsibility. So if someone's ethics aren't in check, they can cause a lot of damage and collateral damage, and we don't want that. So I know whether people like us, our style, whether they support Ninth Limb or they like me or Arash or whatever, it can't be denied that we're the most ethical people, and I truly believe that wholeheartedly. And that's why I'm so open on my platforms about shit I do, whether it's popular belief or opinion, something that I believe in, or the opposite. I don't care. I share what I do, my processes, where I'm at, what I'm thinking, with no apology. And I think very few people on the planet can do that on a high level. And sometimes I think people miss that.
What would you say are, and it's true, in putting out my content, I feel like has really exposed my own belief systems to me. And so I refine myself. And what What would you, we were talking earlier today about the need for people to get behind the camera.
Yeah.
We were talking about one of our friends and get their communication out there and practice and getting clarity on a person's message, what they actually want to like say, and then finding that inner strength where they know how to say it in a solid way, like they can be solid about their message. And how vital is it for everybody? We got a bunch of people on Zoom, a bunch of people on Instagram, just a couple people on YouTube Live right now, and a lot of people will see this afterwards. Yeah. What do they need to know about training with us in our group and with the Rosh Bazaar that they need? Maybe they can find it somewhere else because we found it places, I suppose. But what do they need to know about an event that's going to clarify their message for them and solidify how they say it?
I believe it's the most important thing for everybody to focus on. When I think we had this discussion slightly, or I talked about it a little bit over the weekend. It's been the #1 reason that I've gotten to where I'm at. It's that, I look at my success on the material side with real estate and sales. It's because of that. It's because I can deliver the message better than other people. How about my recognition, my reputation, my brand, and all the opportunities I've gotten through my social media efforts has been because I deliver the message at a higher level, right? With my relationship with my girlfriend and other women that I have in my life, my message is delivered and communicated better than other men, which is why I have, the position that I have. And that's what it boils down to in every area of life. We look at our own, us and our IMC crew, our own self-esteem, our own self-image. Why? Because we can communicate better with ourselves than other people can with themselves. And that's why our self-image is bigger. So that is the root and the fundamental, we say one of those fundamental axioms, that would be the word, to this. And I think people are seeing it more and more now because we're creating a gap between us and everybody else.
Yeah, it's getting bigger.
Yeah, and I think the bigger that gap is, the more people will begin to realize it. But now they're starting to see it, and it's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it in all the individuals in the crew. I know we're highlighting me tonight, but I don't want to take away from the other people either, because this is a movement that's much bigger than just me. I'm just one piece of this movement. Yeah. So, if you see anything in me that you admire, this is just one piece to the puzzle. Yeah. And I think I have to acknowledge that, but also, give thanks to AZD and all you guys, because it's really become this powerful platform. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. True. And moving forward, that community, that platform is ultimately going to carry that frequency and energy into the future that really causes change and does all these things that we want to do. Yeah. And it's good to have brothers to rely on too. It's getting less and less. It's rarer, both in time and space. It's just rare across the planet and rarer as you get older to make friends like this. So that's great. Thanks for being on the show. Of course, brother. And we'll catch you next time. If you if you want to come to an event, you know how to message me, or just find me on Instagram, Yoga Bliss Chris. You can find Bryan on Instagram, Bryan Casella with 2 L's, 1 S. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Blessings. There we go.